Hey everyone, Nicole here with a video walkthrough of the Underdog Tools browser extension offered by Rotogrinders.com. If you don't have this extension installed, it's pretty simple. You can get a direct link, or you can go to the Chrome Web Store, the Microsoft Edge Web Store, or the Mozilla Firefox Web Store, and search for Rotogrinders and download the Underdog Tools extension. Once you've added it, it's browser specific. You go on to Underdog Fantasy, and there will be an extension option with the RG logo. We'll have this little logo. You can click on that, and you need to sign in with your RG credentials. Once you've done that, you'll get a notification saying that you've successfully signed in. Premium members will have additional content on Underdog now when they enter a contest. Those live under the Pick'em tab. So when you go to Pick'em now, just make sure you refresh the page and it picks up the sign-in credentials. You're going to start to see Rotogrinders projections. This is very handy for player props. We've got interceptions, completions, the rush yards, everything you could want here for NFL, NBA, and MLB so far. So you'll see these projections, and then you can start comparing the difference with the Rotogrinders projections and the actual prop line offered by Underdog and decide which over and under picks you want to start making. Right, so this one's really close. This one is an over for us, those kind of things based on what we're seeing on the RG projections and the props offered. You can go by sport, or you can go to see all of them at the same time. So here's just NFL, just NBA, and this works on the over-under tab and also on the rivals tab. So under rivals, you're comparing two guys in a certain stat category with each other. So anywhere with the orange markings, you've got Rotogrinders projections active for them, and you're comparing that with each player. We hope this will make it much easier and quicker for you to go take our projections, compare them to the site's offerings, and then make informed decisions on what contest to enter and who to play. Until next time, this has been Nicole Valencia for Rotogrinders.com.
What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. It is the flagship show here at Rotogrinders.com. 5-4 in the East Coast, of course. We're starting a little bit late today because the slate is starting a little bit late today. It's a 7:30 lock. If y'all are not aware, adjust your clocks accordingly. I'm joined today. He was questionable earlier in the day. He's going to give it a go. It's Grant Neifert. Grant, I don't know if you're just going to take a hit or not, but glad to have you back. I feel like we haven't talked in a while.
Oh, it is. There is some definite conditioning issues. But you know what? I'm on it. I'm here. I'm breathing. Barely.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you stepping up. I mean, you're going to power on through it seems, but you didn't have to do this, Grant. But
I was feeling all right this morning.
You missed me. I think you missed me bad.
It's hitting me bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing that SpaghettiOs can't cure.
I mean, I don't think SpaghettiOs cures the COVID.
well, what do you know what day you're in right now, or you have no idea? You said to kind of guess this.
I mean, 5, 6. I think I'm in 6. I don't know. But I'm alive. I'm kicking.
There you go. Good to see you. Ironically, I got my third jab today, so there you go. It comes
nice. You're going to be feeling like trash tomorrow.
Is that when it hits? Does it hit tomorrow? I don't.
Most likely.
All right, so maybe both of us won't make it in the show. Who knows? Devin's going to jump in and he's going to help you guys out the last 20 minutes or so. He'll be asking himself questions, of course, that he has compiled. Where does he get those questions from, Grant? I'm glad you asked. He gets those questions from our Discord channel. What up, YouTube? Do hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. And I know you all want to communicate with the show. You want to interact with us, ask some questions. And those questions can be placed in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. And we're in the live stream chat channel. That is a free channel. Some are premium. This one happens to be free, along with there's some other free channels as well, too. Chiefs Prop Chop. And Grant, do you have any of your bets you can kind of throw in throughout the show to entice people to jump on over to Discord? I know you've done that in the past.
I can do that.
I did see on Scores and Odds. I mean, obviously not going to give away the whole deal there at Scores and Odds, but I did see you write up. I love the bet. The under a half of assists for the big man for Phoenix.
Just threw that into the chat. Thanks for giving it away, Dino.
Well, no, it's a conversation point. It's a 4-game slate. We can have a little bit of
dude. How many potential assists do you think he has in the last 3 games combined?
1.
2. He has 1 assist. Yeah. He has 2 potential assists. I bet the under the other night, and of course he had 1 potential assist in the first 6 minutes, and the guy happened to make the shot.
Yeah.
So I lost money.
And there's also it's a conversation point we'll hit at some point, but Phoenix did sign Bismack Biyombo to the rest of the year, and Biyombo played great. And I mean, he might steal a few minutes from Smith tonight. I'm curious how that's going to go down. Professional Bismack Biyombo is not just some guy up the street. He's a guy who's done it before, and he's he might get 25 minutes if things are going well. Of course, we've seen Smith run into foul trouble several times. He was injured that last game too, and we'll talk about Phoenix in enough. That is the nightcap. The way the slate kind of lines up as a 4-gamer. It's sandwiched with the TNT doubleheader. The first game is Boston, New York at 7:30. 2 games at 8 o'clock, and then of course there's a 10 o'clock game for the Clippers and Phoenix on TNT. Any general thoughts here, Grant, before we go in and break it down? Position by position. Game by game. You can't really do stars and scrubs because there's kind of no stars. We're looking at John Morant as the best quote unquote star in the slate, which he's not bad, obviously. And Julius Randle and Booker and Tatum and Chris Paul and Jaylen Brown, but there's no Giannis, there's no Joker, there's no Durant, Harden, LeBron, yada yada. So this is what the slate's given us, and of course we'll talk about the Warriors, which they're without Steph Curry. We'll talk about that, and Draymond Green. Yeah,
I mean, the large overview is there's a few very good plays and a whole lot of mediocre plays. There's not a ton of value. So stars and scrubs really does not go that great on this slate. It's an interesting one to say the least. Trying to figure out what to do and trying to get away from the chalk is going to be tough. 4-game slate, you're always going to have pretty chalky guys, but there's a few that just stand out far and away above the rest. And then you're just kind of looking for scraps. Stars and scrubs really isn't going to work because there's not much value. I did the value tags, and I currently have 3 value guys. None of them under 4K, all of them between 4 and 5K. And it's just kind of the way that things are going. We have a few potential blowouts that could end up causing problems. I'm largely going to ignore the blowouts or at least bring it back in any single blowout position. So it's definitely an interesting slate overall.
I'm going to out you right here, right on air, Grant. I'm going to call you out and say you have to update your value plays because you have Trey Lyles in there. And because Isaiah Stewart is back, Isaiah Stewart presumably is going to draw a start. Lyles is going to go to the bench. He's no longer a value play. Yeah,
you're right there. So
it's okay. You got time. You'll figure it out. But I just pulled them up, and you're right though. The value plays are rough. You have to put somebody in there, and if you organize stuff as far as the dollar per dollar best plays in the slate, and the ownership's going to reflect this. The most popular guy on DK today is Jordan Poole, and we're looking at close to 50% ownership. We'll talk about Golden State in a second, but the main reason, of course, is there's no Steph, there's no Draymond. Iguodala expected to play. Toscano Anderson's out as well. Otto Porter also expected to play. They are on a back half of back to back, but they're kind of prepping. They're getting excited. Steph apparently is legitimately hurt, like he hurt himself last night. But the return of Clay is coming, I believe, on Sunday. This is their last game before the return of Clay, the presumed return of Klay Thompson. So they're probably getting all geared up for that, getting all excited about that. I think it'll be on NBA TV or something like that. If the guys don't have the league pass, but that's the guy, Jordan Poole, man. That is the chalk. and it feels like pretty good chalk. We'll talk about it further. But otherwise, like there's a lot of other just kind of sort of fragile plays or plays that wouldn't have made this late yesterday. A lot of these guys, like, there's no way they would have made my cut yesterday. But there was like piles of good plays yesterday. It got even better the longer the slate went. So, you ready to anything else before we kind of dive in and break it down game?
No, let's go right in, my friend.
Let's do it, Grant. All right. First game on the slate, probably the least appealing of the bunch. We'll talk about them. Boston, New York, 209 is the total. New York is a 2-point dog here. Obviously, not a very big total. Boston is, fully healthy with the exception of Peyton Pritchard, kind of a rotation guy to some extent, but doesn't really matter all that much. They are also on a back-to-back, and, Tatum's coming back from COVID as well. And we remember last year he had a difficult bat with it. So just kind of note that. But, when Boston is fully healthy, there's nobody really exciting to play. It's a 4-game slate. Of course, you can play, Brown and Tatum and even Horford and Smart and guys like that. As far as the New York side, we should acknowledge that as well. They're without Kemba, they're without Rose, and Nerlens Noel currently questionable. But, nothing really new that we've seen in the last few days. Basically, that's what they've been dealing with. So, Grant, like, pivots are in this game, in theory. They're kind of overspends. They're not good math plays, but it doesn't mean they can't get there. So talk to me about the Boston Celtics, because they're not going to be heavily owned when you consider it's a 4-game slate. Are you going to be throwing some darts here at some of the Boston guys?
No, I'm fading him. I mean, Horford's the one guy that kind of stands out a little bit. His price tag is 6.9K. He can end up outdoing Jaylen Brown at 9K. Like, he's still priced up a little bit considering his role with Tatum in the offense. I know that he did very well without Tatum in the offense, and he's put up pretty over 40 points in like 10 straight games with Tatum in there. That price tag is probably just a little bit too high. I mean, he's fine if you really want to throw a dart on him. I'm not going to talk you out of it. Tatum's off of minutes limit, but 10.2K, tough to pay for with no value on this slate, and just not really a guy that's going to give you enough upside in most scenarios. The Knicks are one of the better defensive teams in the league. They've been playing good defense recently. So I don't really see this being a high-scoring game. While it is one of the 2 games with under a 10-point spread on the slate, still just doesn't really sound great. I mean, I'm not going to argue with Horford, Brown, Tatum, Smart in a game stack. If you really want to go that way, it's going to be low owned and people aren't going to really do it much. But as of right now, I just have no real interest in any of these Boston guys. They're all kind of priced a little bit higher than they should be, even on a 4-game slate. It's not that the Knicks are like incredible defensively. They're kind of middle of the pack, but they just play so slow. So there's less possessions. I believe they're the second fastest team in the league. By the way, Noel officially ruled out, which I think we had that in our projections, and we're basically considering Taj and Mitch Rob to essentially chop up 48 minutes. I think that's kind of what we had as far as our projection. I don't think that matters too much. I mean, I don't think you're playing Taj. Maybe you can play Mitch Rob and get him on the right night, or he has like 5 dunks and like 7 stocks. Like, that kind of thing can happen, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, raw points for Boston can matter. Like, guys like Jaylen Brown can put up like a bad math score, like 42 or 41, and that could be enough just because the way the slate shakes up. And again, I think John Morant is the highest projected play on the slate. We're not looking at the likelihood of somebody putting up 65 or 70 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I want to kind of like, it's a 4-game slate, and I want to kind of go through the plays, but I'm pulling up on DK. Let's look at our ownership specifically for Boston. And we do have 18% for Jaylen Brown, despite the fact it's not a great math play. Again, for well,
that
it's
reason
because who else are you going to pay up for?
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's like it's not baseball where like you can get away with saving 4K and like it's not that big a deal. But in basketball, generally speaking, you want to spend most of your salary. Horford's the next guy we're looking at as far as ownership, 13%. Then it just falls off a table. Tatum at 10.2K, like 2% on a 4-game slate. But, back-to-back travel, it just makes sense to me. It's hard to justify, but I understand why you would do it, especially in a large field tournament, especially in a tournament that has like a big prize up top. Well, but top heavy, sure. Then you can do that. Fire your bullet by all means. We've seen Tatum's upside. Jumping over to FanDuel, we're looking at Tatum at 20% because the price a little bit different, a little more friendly at 9.8K, relatively speaking, as far as friendly. Then Horford, then Brown, then Robert Williams. It's not a lot, man. it's not a lot, Grant. Like I'm trying to. This is the old lipstick on a pig deal, but look, we could jump over to New York, and you're going to be a little bit more excited as far as the Knicks, I suppose. Randall seems like a better like stud play in this game. We saw what he can do last time out. Was it last time out? I think it was last time out. Coming back from COVID protocols, and he absolutely smashed. What do you have for me as far as the Knicks?
I mean, it's really, for the most part, two guys. It's Burks and it's Barrett. Without Kemba and Rose, like Burks should end up running the point a lot. He should have a decent usage. He's been playing pretty well recently. This game's projected to be close, so in games where he ends up playing 30 plus minutes, he's going to end up right around 40 points. Like, he's a very solid overall play. Is he the best play on the slate? No, but he's a very good play and probably in the top 8. Then there's Barrett. Like, without Kemba and Rose taking up a huge amount of the usage, I mean, Barrett's probably going to shoot the ball 20 times. I know it's not a great defensive matchup, but he's a guy that can eat up that usage, that can shoot a lot. His props kind of over on sportsbooks show that he should offer some positive value here based on where his assists, rebounds, and points props all are. So he's a guy that definitely has some upside if he gets hot shooting. He's going to be fairly heavily owned, but not nearly on the same vein as Morris, as Wiggins, as Poole. So he's an interesting pivot to go with a slightly less owned guy. I mean, 22% may seem like a lot, but it is a 4-game slate with Boston essentially being irrelevant and 2 giant blowout potentials. So when you're looking at this, if you are going to play Brown, I think bring it back with Burks and or Barrett is a pretty solid idea. I mean, I think I just tagged Quickly, or I'm thinking about tagging Quickly as a potential salary saver. I know he hasn't been great recently. He is playing minutes though. We've seen him do well before, and he's just not been shooting the ball great. So if he actually starts shooting the ball well, then he has the potential to put up at least a serviceable enough outing where, you might do well with him on this slate.
Trying to think who else you're debating between as far as tagging the cheapies. The other thing is you don't need the cheapies that much because you're not spending up for guys either. It's a clear just kind of mid-tier slate. Like maybe like on the Manja Bielitsa, I'm not sure we tagged him. Like he's a guy that might be in the conversation.
I tagged him. I tagged him as soon as I realized that Stewart was playing in Lyles.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, not a comfortable play, but in theory, he should be fine. So I ran, I ran 150 optimal lineups on DK, right? 150. There's only 4 games. One Celtic appeared in those 150 one time. Jason Tatum. One time.
It's just because you had far too much money left over.
Probably. To be fair, I didn't put any restrictions on money, but like he's got a good raw score, and like you have the money, so why not? As far as New York, 41% Burks, 41% Barrett. This is DK for what it's worth. As far as and I capped it at 70% just to get a different shuffle. I got nobody more than 70%. And a couple Randall. So this is the weird thing. Randall 1% on DK, right? And just kind of like the nature of the sites. And he's 10K over there. He's 9K on FanDuel. I capped it at 70%, ran 150, and he hit the cap 70% on FanDuel. Just because it's so much easier to play him on FanDuel. Just kind of speaks to the nature of a slate again. Burks at 67%, Barrett 43%. And as far as Boston guys, I think they kind of sprinkle it a little bit. Horford at 6%. Is that it? Is that the only guy that made an appearance in my FanDuel lineups? Yes. That's wild. Just kind of interesting how that turned out. Anybody else on New York? I don't think so. Yeah, so it's the worst game of the slate, but like everybody else knows this. And this game could go overtime. You're not banking on that. But
I mean, there is the game theory aspect where let's say all 3 other games turn into a blowout. Is there a scenario where this game stays close and potentially goes to overtime where you pretty much need a game stack in order to win? Yes, there's absolutely that scenario. So like I said, like Barrett and Burks are the only 2 I like. I mean, if you want to throw anyone on the other side for a game stack, that's fine. Quickly is a potential guy, and Randall always has a ceiling, but it's tough to pay up for him. So I think with a game stack with this, I'm going probably Burks, Barrett, bringing it back with Brown and Horford, hoping this game goes to OT or is just for some reason high scoring, which I wouldn't be surprised. Like, honestly, I like the under in this game. Like 206.
I think it just dropped a half a point down to 208.5. If I just when I refresh, that's what happened. So
yeah. I mean, like I generally don't bet totals and spreads. Like I'd rather throw my money on player props. But this game, I'm not going to be surprised if it's like 86-91 is the final score.
Yeah. I mean, it's uncomfortable betting under 208.5, but if I were to bet in this game, I agree.
I feel like they played earlier on in the season. We had the lowest total of the season.
Is that true? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have that in front of me.
That could be right. I don't know, like, or the lowest like total before the game. But that game last time they played was 107-114. Who was New York? I can't remember. But
I'm not sure. This is Daily Fantasy Sports, Grant. We care about today and today only.
Well, when the past has a effect on today based on the knowledge we know beforehand. They also, I think, at the beginning of the season, played each other and put up 170 points.
The greatest predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's of note in this game? Like, you could play pretty much all. We're not playing Taj, are we? I mean, he's 3-2 on DK, but I don't know if that gets me. Even if he starts, like,
no.
I mean, I don't think we're playing him. I'm just trying to figure. Like, we're projecting 24 minutes, and like, again, he's the floor, but I guess if he gets you 20, like that's something that could theoretically be helpful if like the big studs go nuts. But yeah, it's you just.
I want SpaghettiOs.
Do you get it with meatballs? Well, what's your go-to?
Oh yeah, with the meatballs, and then something I've been doing recently is making a grilled cheese with it, and then dipping it in the spaghetti. It's kind of like grilled cheese and tomato soup, but more childish and unhealthy.
Are you really nostalgic for your childhood? Is that what's going on here? Like,
no,
why do you love? Yeah,
my taste changed. They've just added on. Like, I still love the things I loved from childhood, like cereal, SpaghettiOs, Lunchables. Like, I very much did not change what I like. I'm a player entering the NBA, and I have all my skill set that never changes. But then I add a 3-pointer in and all these fancy things, a hook shot. Like, I love childish stuff, but I love me some nice, high quality dining, like sushi, beef carpaccio, truffles, oysters. Like, I like all that.
You're a complicated man, Grant. You're diverse. You have layers, like an onion.
I don't fit. I fit into many different categories of many different things.
Fair enough. Are we moving on? I think we're moving on as far as Boston, New York, right? I mean, that's we did what we could with that game. Like, if you want to play Marcus Smart, whatever, you can play him. There's no math reason that says you should, but outside of like nobody else is going to play him, and theoretically he could be fine. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Detroit. Detroit is I just closed my good timing by me. They're facing
Detroit
Memphis.
is a 13 or 12.5 point underdog. Memphis is the favorite here. 115 total for Memphis. 102.75 total for Detroit here. Now I'll let you go while I assumed have opened back up your tab.
I did, and Detroit basically fully healthy. Corey Joseph is still out, but Isaiah Stewart is expected back. I presume Stewart's going to jump in that five spot. I presume that's going to kick Lyles out of the starting lineup. Some of his minutes will be lost. As far as Memphis, this is like the main thing we have up in the air. I don't want to say like we have all the information. You never have all the information in 2022, but from what I can see, from what I can tell, this is the most important stuff as far as the questionable is Dylan Brooks and DeAnthony Melton. They passed the protocols, I believe, but it's now they're kind of waiting. They're waiting as far as conditioning.
Which now I'm starting to understand. I was like, what are they doing? You need an extra few days of conditioning after you pass protocols? I'm
You're
like,
supposed to be a professional athlete.
Well, I'm fairly certain I'm out of protocols and I need conditioning for this gosh darn show.
How many days do you need conditioning to get like a 7-minute stint in the NBA?
Well, I tried, I was feeling good today. And so I tried to do I'll do 10 minutes on the elliptical. That was the bad decision. Like, I was feeling fine before that. And now I'm like, am I having a heart attack?
Yeah.
So apparently my conditioning should
and that was minute 2.
Huh?
That was like minute 2.
No, I felt fine during, and then afterwards I'm like, oh. I'm dying. Why are my hands cold? Oh, apparently I don't have good circulation. Heart attack, here I come.
Again, I'm glad you made it through on your 10 minutes. All right. Yeah. So we're assuming that Brooks and Melton are in for what it's worth as far as our projections on the old lineup HQ that producer Devin's showing off on the screen. Despite that, they do have Bane out. Your boy Bane. You love that. Well, he's not officially out. He's doubtful for what it's worth. We're assuming he's out.
Why'd you have to remind me? Oh, it's
I'm
so
sorry.
tough. It's so tough.
You actually bought a Bane Top Shot the other day. Like you spent hundreds of American dollars on it.
I've got both of his only 2 Top Shots. And yeah, I got one for $369. Nice. And both of them are up like $100. I keep selling off my top.
You negotiated. Go ahead.
Huh? I keep selling off my Top Shots, and I keep investing them just into Bane Top Shots. Like I want my entire portfolio to be Bane, because that guy is a certified stud, and he is going to be good for a very long time. What's his comparable player? I'm trying to think.
You try to tell me it was Paul George, but Paul George is too big in comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know, but obviously that's the upside theoretically, right? And I don't know. If
the upside is
probably isn't.
less scoreable Kobe, like a worse Kobe, a poor man's Kobe.
Well, that's a bold statement too.
Can play pretty good defense, can eat up a bunch of usage, can shoot. Like he's not really a 3-and-D guy. He can handle things. He doesn't only shoot 3-pointers. Daniel.
Some idiot once said that.
Yeah, are you taking the L on that?
He's better than I thought he was. I'm happy to say
he's better than everyone thought he was. He's better than even I thought he was. Like I was super high on him. Like after watching him I think I watch every single Grizzlies game. Like that's the only, except for one that was on.
That's like your go-to game. Like if you're gonna pick one on the NBA,
yep.
The package. That's the first game you pull up. Well,
it's
obviously,
strangely enough, the Grizzlies and Detroit. So.
Oh man. Detroit's hard to watch.
So much. I've bet close to 6 figures on Cade Cunningham. I actually might have bet 6 figures on Cade Cunningham so far this year.
They've also made you the most money, right? Cunningham.
Cunningham lost me a lot of money at the beginning. Like for going over the last month, Cunningham has made month and a half. Cunningham's made me a huge amount of money, but he lost me a lot of money at the beginning. Bane is paid for essentially a new car if I wanted to.
A Hyundai or what kind of brand?
Probably like a Nissan Altima, brand new, with 3.5.
No Celtics players will be rested Thursday per coach. Well, yeah, I guess it's a back-to-back, so maybe there's a thought process. So I like the clarity on that.
Yeah,
it's good to know.
Extra information regarding injuries is always good information.
Yeah, man, I wish. I don't know how much you played last night, but the whole Kevin Huerter situation really threw me off because I ruined some good lineups moving him out. I moved him in, and then when I saw he wasn't starting, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I trust this situation. It could be dicey. And then he went nuts off the bench. And it was rough. And Kyle Lowry had one of the worst ejections I've ever seen. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh gosh, yeah. And I had the over on his points. Like because of that, it probably stayed closer, and I hit the over on Simons on points, rebounds, and assists, and on assists. And I hit the over on Powell points. And over on PJ Tucker points. So I'm not too angry about it. Like I was angry at the moment. I'm like, great, this is fantastic. But the game stayed close, and they're definitely worse defensively without Lowry. So I'm gonna chuck it up as net even.
Throwing the ball back to the ref, and it wasn't even like with a lot of force. And I was listening to the game. I didn't see what he did in the first technical, but I was listening to the game, and I think that was a replacement ref. Like one of the refs who couldn't make it there for whatever reason. And I'm pretty sure it was a replacement ref that threw him out. So he's going to be telling his boys for years, like bragging that he threw out Kyle Lowry or something like that.
Yeah, he's also going to be never ref again, hopefully.
Yeah, like that's it. Like you're done. And Lowry called him I don't know if you guys saw what Lowry called him on his way out, but he wasn't pleased. So Lowry seems like a decent dude. Like he wouldn't call him. It seemed justified. It was pretty awful. All right. As far as Memphis and Detroit, let's talk about Memphis first. Detroit. Basically fully healthy there, and then they'll run out a lot of guys. We saw they got absolutely walloped last night. Back to back and some travel as well. Big dog here, 13-point dog to Memphis. Memphis has been good this season. John Morant has been fabulous. He's been fabulous especially in the absence of Dylan Brooks. We're expecting Dylan Brooks to be back, which is kind of a problem because Dylan Brooks thinks he's the alpha. He thinks he's the best player on this team. He takes more shots. But also Bane being out should shuffle some more stuff to Brooks. Again, he's doubtful, and so is Kyle Anderson. He's doubtful as well too. Not official, but we're assuming. But we have money to spend is kind of what we're getting at. So how do you feel about Ja versus Detroit?
Don't we start with Detroit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, if you want, yeah, Detroit, go ahead.
Well, we'll
Whichever
start with
side you wanna
Memphis.
start
I mean, Ja is one of my favorite plays on the slate as a spend up. I mean, this guy is just taken to the back. I was going to be much happier if Isaiah Stewart didn't end up playing. But you know what? He can still take it to the rim and he can still put up a boatload of points at any given time. He's doing everything without Bane this offense. I know that Brooks is a guy that just loves to eat up that usage. And him coming back, like if he's in the game, I like Ja less. I'm assuming that he's in the game and I still like Ja. But Morant, like he is one of the top spend ups, probably the top spend up. He's going to crush here. He's going to put up 60 probably in this spot.
What?
Brooks, what? What do you mean what?
60 is a big number, man. That's a bold proclamation.
60 is a
my
big
friend.
number. Like it's definitely, he's put up 50 last 4 games. He's put up 48.
He can, yeah, but I mean, to just say it just so casually. Yeah, he's gonna.
I mean,
drop
I bet.
60,
Let
sure.
me put it this way: I bet the over of his 27.5 points, and I'm probably going to bet the alt overs all the way up to 35.
Grant, you're supposed to be putting this in the Discord chat, and not giving.
I
it
gave
away
him
for
6.
free.
I don't have the energy right now, Dean. I do not have any energy.
And where are those picks located? They're located.
Go to the
okay.
Discord. I'll tell you what. Before the end of the show, guys, go sign up for the Discord. Literally, all you have to do is go to discord.com/ right. Rotogrinders.com/pass. Dean, say
What?
it. I'm getting Dean. Say it. You say it.
Rotogrinders.com/Discord. You go to the live stream chat channel. Grant, I appreciate you powering through this show. It's you don't have to be a premium member for RG. There are premium channels. That's not a premium channel. That's a standard channel. Just like the prop shop there for cheap. It's right next to him. And yeah, Grant's been dropping his bets in there periodically. You're just going to drop ball. And Grant's done really well for himself as far as player props. Props to Grant. You're going to have yourself the Taxman is going to be hooked up this year for sure. I'm sure that's a fun conversation you're looking forward to.
I'm not looking forward to that. I put down. I don't know if this is true, but I was drunk on New Year's Eve, and so I put down a lot of future bets because depending on
you
how
can write that off, right? Yeah.
So I can. Well, if I win, then it'll be included on next year, and
sure.
Like it depends on how you go with your gambling. Like it's money in, money out. Like is kind of how I think I treat it. I can't remember. But I was drunk and I'm like
speculate on Twitter that like if you sign up for DFS contests, like for January 2nd, January 3rd contest on December 31st, those are kind of technically losses in the year 2021. I don't know if that's true or not. That's not advice, but that's what I heard somebody talking about. But same sort of principle, same sort of thought process.
Yeah, there's different accounting styles. I don't have the energy to go into it, but yeah.
But that stuff. Like you do have an accounting background.
Yes.
I don't. I took accounting and then I immediately changed majors. I'm like, this sucks.
This is not
a whole new
financial advice, by the way. Do not talk to your accountant. But gosh, I got water in my mustache dripping down my lip. Yeah, I'm a wreck today.
Let's finish up this Memphis Detroit game. We're started, I guess. You mentioned how much like John Morant. You talked about the ceiling is potentially 60 points, and for sure he has that ceiling. Absolutely. Again, we're assuming Brooks and Melton back in. We're assuming Bane and Anderson are going to be out. Nothing official there. Of course, Tillman and Conchar continue to be out. Triple J, are you willing to just roll out Dylan Brooks and just say like, well, if he's fully conditioned, he's going to come right back.
Dylan Brooks wasn't a great play when Ja was out. Dylan Brooks with Ja in is not a good play. I get his numbers, but you have to look at the numbers before Ja went out with his injury for a while. Dylan Brooks may be a high usage guy and he will just chuck like a real son of a biscuit, but he's not getting as much ancillary stats as he needs to. I would much rather go with Jaren Jackson. Like he is very much the better play. Like I'm starting to notice trends and everything I'm watching. Like obviously foul trouble can derail his night every single time. Same thing with Dylan Brooks. People forget that. I mean, it's less so this year, but he is a guy that gets into foul trouble. But Jaren Jackson has kind of been like not doing as much because of the role that Bane has taken in the offense. And Grant, they stagger his rotations, but Jaren Jackson will, I think, be in for a bigger workload without Bane. I think he will be the main beneficiary of it. Brandon Clark is not a terrible spend down. And I'm actually going to tag him as a value play over on TK because
he'll get his 24, 25 minutes or so, and he's about a fantasy point minute guy. He's fine.
Yeah, he should do well. But yeah, it's if I'm ranking guys, it's Morant, Jackson, and then Clark.
Yeah, and you're right. The way Memphis does their rotations, and Jackson specifically, he just kind of seems to jump in and out of that game a lot. Like it's not like they have a rotation, they come out and they finish the rotation, and that's that. Like,
well, he's also used to it. Some people are creatures of habit. He can't be when he might foul out at any given time.
Yeah, maybe he's better in just shorter stints. But the overall, like just some coach philosophies, kind of moving guys in and out much more than other coaches happen to do. Anybody else that we should mention? Like Steven Adams is there. Like he doesn't have this monster ceiling, but he's got a chance to get you a cheap double-double. I suppose he's fine, but I don't see any reason like you love Steven Adams today, but is he going to blow up?
By the way, free bet for the viewers. Go bet. If you have any free bets, go put it on Memphis to win the championship. It's 70-1.
Oh, come on. That's not happening, Grant. Unless you're hedging it like after like round 2 or something.
No.
They're not.
Why don't you think Memphis has a chance?
Because Golden State is still a thing. Milwaukee is still a thing. Like these teams actually are better. Phoenix is better. Yeah.
Yes, they're better, but you're getting 70-1, Daniel. Memphis is currently the 4 seed right now. And they've been drastically better on the defensive end. They are fantastic offensive rebounding team. They have talent that they can, like, once they start playing Ja and Bane for 38 minutes a night, like that's going to be big. And you got Dylan Brooks to pick up the pieces as an extra guy off the bench. Like they probably shouldn't be starting them. Or
they're a guy away. They're a guy away.
No, they aren't.
They're a guy. And this isn't baseball, right? This isn't football. Football, anybody can win the Super Bowl. Just get to the playoffs and some variants. One and done. Baseball. Anybody can win in baseball, right? Like the worst team could beat the best team in the 3-game series or even in a 5-game series. But in basketball, almost always the better team, the distinctly better team, is going to beat the lesser team. In a 7-game series. That's just how that happens. But fair enough. We agree to disagree. This is not besmirching of Memphis. It's just that. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get there. I probably would have said the same thing about Phoenix.
So that's why you're getting 70-1, Daniel. I don't think you understand that.
No, I understand. I'm just all right. Other pieces on Memphis you want to talk about, or you want to jump over to Detroit, where
it's pretty much
exciting.
Just Cade.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Everyone's priced up for the role they had prior to Cade coming back. Maybe you can take a shot on Isaiah Stewart. I don't know if you know this team, but he has 50-point upside. I think you said that before. No. I mean, Stewart is at 4.6K is the worst idea in the world. I definitely don't hate it. He does have some potential upside. Worried about the minutes, worried about the blowout, but he's a guy that can end up getting it done in pretty much any amount of time. So he's not the worst idea in the world because it's trash 4-game slate. So I don't hate that as a value play, but Cade is my guy here. Like Cade has been fantastic. Like I bet the over on his points and some other bets that I will now throw into chat because I said I would, because screw you, Daniel.
What do you mean screw me? I don't have suggested it, I believe.
But like these lines are so off. Like people, I don't get sportsbooks. Like sportsbooks had him all the way up to 20.5 points as his prop shortly after Grant went out. And then he got injured. No, he got COVID and he was out for a few games. And then the last 2 games, he's got 19 and 16 points, one of which was a complete total blowout where he only played 26 minutes. Like this guy is good. This guy is very good, and he's the main guy in this offense. I get Diallo's been doing stuff, and Bay's been taking more, and Killian Hayes occasionally eats into it a little bit. But if this game stays close, he's going to end up with probably 25 points here. Like, I think that he is a fantastic play tonight, even at high ownership, if you're bringing it back with Ja. Like, I don't know how many lineups are rolling out. I only have one registered right now because I wasn't sure if I'd pass out after this game or after this show.
What's the current Vegas odds of you passing out after the show?
I'm probably going to take a bubble bath, eat some SpaghettiOs, and take a nap.
SpaghettiOs in the bubble bath? Is that the same knocking about 2 birds, 1 stone, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, granted, I do have 5 figures in bets like that. I don't have to adjust. I wasn't sure how much energy I'd have to adjust my lineups, so I'm just throwing out 1 in all likelihood, and it will have I'm telling you right now, as of right now, my lineup will have Morant, Cade, and Isaiah Stewart in it as a game stack.
Cunningham, the highest projected owned guy on DK, 27%, not even close on FanDuel, 42% on FanDuel. Because again, you have the salary and the price is too cheap also at 6.8K. The next guy is Diallo at 15%. Like we saw him thrive in the absence of a bunch of dudes, but now they've gotten most of their pieces back. So he's going to fall back for sure as far as usage and all that. Like, can you still play him? I guess. Am I going to?
I did bet the over on his points, but it's all the way down at 14.5.
Yeah, when they're asking 7.5K for Hamadou, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Life comes at you fast. 8.3 on DK. Like did something just happen? Did the news just break that I missed?
No chance at 8.3K is what I was saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I think you said OGs for some reason.
OGs. I mean, we should probably get to the more applicable. We have wasted a large amount of time somehow. We have we're halfway through the slate and we're 40 minutes in.
We're doing a good job here, Grant. We're knocking things out appropriately. We're fine. Yeah, let's talk about the game. Golden State and New Orleans. That's obviously the premier game of the slate. Golden State is currently a 1-point dog, if I'm seeing this correctly. 211.5 is the total here against New Orleans. Of course, the reason why they're a 1-point dog is they're without Steph Curry. They're out without Draymond Green. Juan Toscano Anderson's not going to be playing. Iguodala expected to play in the back-to-back, as well as Otto Porter, both like knee. Well, they gave Iguodala a knee. Injury management for Otto Porter as well, but we're expecting those guys to play. The Pelicans fully healthy, man. I mean, we're not going to talk about, the guys are done for the year or whatever, or what's that?
You forgot about Zion.
Yeah, like what I'm saying, like, well, I don't know if he's going to play a game all season. Like, what's the point at this point? Tomas Satoransky is like the only guy that like is not playing, that may play at some point soon. He is out with the COVID issues. All right, so let's talk about Golden State. How much Golden State is too much Golden State? We kind of alluded to it earlier in the show. Jordan Poole is the chalkiest of the chalk, 47.3% on DK. We expect him to, garner a pile of usage, take a bunch of shots. Him and Wiggins, that's going to be the show for sure. Wiggins, 6.8K on DK. We're looking at 36% as far as ownership. Then the mitten, the glove, whatever you want to call him, Gary Payton, we're projecting to start and play 30 minutes and 25 fantasy points at 4.8K. AK is fine. Bielitsa, they still have plenty of bodies like Bielitsa and Kuminga and Iguodala and Looney and Porter and Lee and Chioza. We know Kerr likes to play a bunch of dudes, so we're still probably going to get 10, maybe 11 guys in their rotation. Tell me why we should not play like guys like Poole and Wiggins.
Ownership.
Yeah.
Like Poole's got over a 30% usage rate. I think Wiggins does too. Without Steph in the lineup, Poole is far too underpriced at 5. Over on other sites, he's still too cheap at 5.7 and $20 on Yahoo. Like, he's just too cheap. Like, that's it. Like, if this were a 12-game slate with a whole bunch of COVID news on there, yeah, you can risk fading him. I'm not. I don't suggest it. He's going to be 50% owned. That's probably too low. Wiggins on the other side, he's probably more of a fade for me. I still will end up playing him. He's in my one lineup right now, I believe. But he's going to shoot. He's going to chuck. I got the over on both their points. Yeah, like, they're great plays. And then outside of that, Bielitsa and Damian Lee, if Iguodala doesn't end up playing, I think Damian Lee makes an interesting cheapie. Could end up going into some extra minutes there, but they don't really have a huge reason to. Gary Payton is a fine play. He's not a great play. He's fine. Mostly a guy I'm throwing into a game stack. Mostly if I'm fading Poole, like Lee, Bielitsa, Wiggins, Otto Porter Jr. All those guys are guys you play if you're not playing both Poole and Wiggins. Like, the chances of them not putting up points is very unlikely. And I get they have a lot of bodies, but with the amount of points that Wiggins and Poole should put up because of their usage rates, if they're not doing that, that means this is either a blowout, they're shooting absolutely terrible, or someone else is doing it. The most likely case is someone else is doing it.
So what's interesting is running my optimals, right? First optimal on DK only has 2 Warriors. It has Poole and it has Wiggins. Of course, they both hit the threshold of 71%. That's kind of what I locked it at. no higher. On FanDuel, the optimal only one Warrior, just Jordan Poole. Wiggins is more expensive over there, is 7.2K. Now he is in 61% of lineups. Poole, of course, at 70%. Both, hit that optimal, but Bielitsa 13%, Peyton 13%, and like Porter at 7%. It's not one of those things where like you're just supposed to play for Warriors. You can, but that's like what I'm seeing right now as far as the math. And just kind of note that. And as far as DK, the same sort of deal. The rest of the Warriors, you kind of mentioned some cheapies there potentially, but we're talking about Gary Payton at 2% on DK, and that's also because we're making some bad purchases on some guys that are more expensive that aren't great dollar for dollar plays, but we have the money, so we might as well. I think that's what's going on there. Is that kind of your thought process as well?
Yeah, you get what the market allows you to. There's some things and stuff for you. Drops of knowledge.
That was you dropping knowledge right there.
Give me a break. I got COVID.
I'll drop knowledge, Dean. You got the wrong ownership up. You got to refresh your page.
Yeah, I called you dumb, you dumb.
For what? For FanDuel or for DK? Was I was talking about no, that was the how many actually land
your optimals, right? But before that, you had the wrong ownership. I see Jordan Poole's at 49.9% on DK currently.
Okay, and he's 58% on DK. It went higher because
even higher. Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be an extreme number, and I wouldn't bet under 59% on FanDuel for the record. I would not take the under on it. Yeah, I think the over is probably a stronger bet if I'm forced to bet. Grant, what about runbacks? As far the Warriors aren't playing against nobody; they're playing against the New Orleans Pelicans. Problem is, again, the Pelicans are fully healthy. There's no this guy's his salary is adjusted based upon getting 22 minutes. He's going to get 35 tonight. Everybody's going to get what they're supposed to get, and that's that. Josh Hart's been the most expensive he's been the entire season, I suppose. Grant, who are we running back as far as the Pelicans in this game?
I don't know. I do not know. I mean, the game's projected to be tight. I mean, Josh Hart's probably my favorite. That's not great. Ingram gonna have a lot of usage, but he just hasn't been putting things together. Everyone's healthy. Like J-Val is probably priced where he should be, or a little bit too high. Graham's priced a little bit too high. Herbert Jones is priced a little bit too high. Nah is priced a little bit too high. The only guy
but you
that's
have
priced,
the money and you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to game stack it, you're not getting extra points from playing them. They don't have you look at RG's page, they don't have RG value above their salary. But the correlation,
but so few people do.
Yeah. But the correlation in this game and the fact that you're playing guys on the other side and hoping that this game stays close, that's kind of the reason why you end up playing them. It's not because they project out well. It's just the correlation of hopefully this game stays close on a slate where there's only 2 games that are projected to stay close.
Hart is 7.6 on FanDuel. That's a big old number for Josh Hart. He's going to play a ton of minutes for sure. He's 6'4" on DK, a little more palatable. 25% on DK. Ingram at 25%. Joe Val at 20%. Graham, shooting reliant, but he's a guy that could score 25, 30 real points. That's basically where I'm going to cut myself off at. Herbert Jones on DK is 4.5. We had Herbert Jones night a couple weeks ago or so. That's because everybody was out. Now he's going to fall back and take basically zero usage. FanDuel specific, Joe Val, we're looking at 33% just because we have the salary again. Ingram's at 30%, good run back as well. Hart just trickier at 16% because he's 7.6K. You got anything else to say as far as this game? Give me your favorite run back in New Orleans. You got to do it. You're going to run somebody back with
Hart followed by Ingram. I don't like either though. Yeah, I'm not playing either.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the hammer tonight. That is the Clippers and Phoenix. That is the back half.
Marcus Morris.
Revenge game too, isn't it? I can't remember him or Markieff. Which one of the Morris brothers played in Phoenix?
Both of them were playing for Phoenix at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think they lived in the same house. They shared credit cards. They got the same identical
allegedly
tattoos.
Shared women.
They really like each other, man. That's cool. That's cool to have a brother. They're twins.
Oh gosh, who was that? Who was the Baltimore, I think, defensive player that his girlfriend came to the house after he was caught in a 3-way with his brother and a girl?
Oh yeah, this happened this year, right?
I think it happened last year. It was a wild.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but
it was a wild
somebody let us
story.
know in the chat.
And his wife was coming to stab him. It wasn't Antonio Brown status, but it was wild.
Yeah. And the last chance to knock out your questions. Not last chance, but like, ask some questions, whatever you want us to elaborate on, or you want to ask about our favorite game stack or our favorite cheapies or whatever's in your mind. Feel free to ask those questions. Producer Devin is compiling them. He'll be joining the show after we talk about the Clippers and Phoenix, the Morris revenge game, 221, the Chris Paul revenge game as well. 220. Somebody on Twitter was on Twitter today trying to say that like nobody said Chris Paul could pass. Like, who said that? Y'all said Chris Paul couldn't pass. Like, well, whoever made that argument? It's the dumbest tweet I ever saw. But never mind.
Yeah, that's like saying, Steph Curry can't shoot.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's just quote tweeting with like things that are true, but like, whatever. I took advantage. Whatever. It's the engagement worked.
Earl Thomas, that was it.
Earl Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah, the former Seahawks great. Oh, man.
221 is the total. Phoenix is a 15-point favorite in this game as far as who's in and who's out. Clippers are going to be without Paul George, of course. Some of their bigs, Hartenstein, Zubac, are not going to be playing. Underdog, no Luke Kennard. We're expecting Brandon Boston to be available, and Xavier Moon also not available. The bigs for Phoenix, their number one center presumed out, DeAndre Ayton. Number two center presumed out, JaVale McGee. Jay Crowder, one of their wings, and Landry Shamet also going to be out. And we said before they signed Bismack Biyombo. All right. Talk to me about the Clippers. What are you excited for as far as the Clippers? I'm
Marcus Morris.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
outside of that, Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann are fine if you're bringing it back with Paul George or anyone else. Like, Marcus Morris is the one guy that stands out regardless. I like the over on his points. I love I've been hitting. He's made me a bunch of money too. He's another guy that they just. A couple days ago,
when they got blown out, though, I was on him way too much. Where I don't think he touched the court in the.
I bet every single one of his overs, and none of them hit. But don't care because I've been doing it like. He missed a few at the beginning of the season. Then as soon as he came back, I bet like the over every single time, and it just keeps hitting. Like, so many sportsbooks are so slow to react to things. It's why I love my job and why I make money with my job. But Marcus Morris is the guy that really stands out as a good play. Like, he is the top offensive weapon probably in this offense. I forget Reggie Jackson's going to take up a bunch of usage. He can be hit or miss. He can end up with a big night any night, but he's going up against Chris Paul. It's definitely going to be something where he probably ends up getting deferred over to Morris. Like, over on the other side, you have Jalen Smith trying to guard him and Biyombo trying to guard him. Like, they just don't really match up that well against Marcus Morris. So he should end up with 20 plus points on tonight. And he's just too cheap if he's going to do that. I mean, he's had 20 points in 5 of the last 6, 4 of the last 5, whatever it is, 6 of the last 7. He's had 20 points at a fairly consistent basis, and he's been very consistent outside of that last game. And this is a great spot here. But if you want to throw more guys in on a game stack, Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann are the two guys that I would throw in. Mann without Underdog and everyone else in there, he's going to end up being fairly heavily involved. While he's not consistent, he's still a guy that has a pretty solid overall ceiling with a lack of the depth on this team, and he will play a bunch of minutes. And Reggie Jackson, dude's just going to chuck. That's the only reason to play. Dude's going to chuck no matter what, even if Chris Paul's in his face, but he's my least favorite of the three. I just got a burst of energy.
Yeah, man. Somebody is shot with adrenaline or something like that off air. 35% ownership projection on FanDuel for Rjax, 31 for Morris. Mann is 22. Similar story on DK for Morris and Reggie Jackson, 36% for Morris. Big old number. Also 27% for Reggie Jackson. Mann at 18%. Then there's guys like Bledsoe and Coffee and Ibaka, darts essentially. If this game blows out, maybe Boston is kind of sort of someone interesting in like a large field, but he's not somebody that's going to pop in an optimal. Obviously, he's a guy that can certainly mop up, and he's essentially still a minimum. How about the Phoenix side? We're looking at a lot of ownership on Chris Paul, a lot of ownership on Devin Booker, and their wings are sort of fine. Cam Johnson and Payne, and Bismack is interesting. I think he's an interesting play on this slate. He's 4K on DK. It's a small sample, but so far this year, he's got like 1.4 fantasy points per minute. It's like 45 minutes, whatever it is. And we've seen, Jalen Smith getting in the foul trouble, who's also been very good too. And he's also playable. I presume Smith starts. I believe Bismack closed last game. Like last game, we saw Smith in foul trouble.
Yeah, let's talk about him as well. The Jalen Smith's assist rate and potential assists per game and assists per game. How many assists
we
does he have over
about
the
that.
last 4 games?
What does COVID give you amnesia?
No, I talked about his potential assists per game. I was going to go more in depth. You said we talk about it later because it was bringing me into something. And I remember perfectly. You don't remember what our conversation. That's why I said assist rate and assists over the last 4 games, not potential assists over the last 3 games, which is what I mentioned earlier.
What was your question?
He has 1 assist over the last 4 games.
Yeah, I thought we said that. But you're betting the under tonight. You bet under on a half of an assist.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, it makes the game so interesting until it either hits or the game's over. I love the under 0.5. Like, you remember back when I was betting Davion Mitchell under 0.5.
And Gobert you're betting too.
Gobert over 1 assist. That's another fun one.
But the whole time you're watching the game, it's like, shoot it.
Or as soon as he passes, shoot it. Gobert gets the ball, pass it. Don't shoot. Just yelling at the TV. It is a crazy sweat. Officially available to play.
Okay. Yeah. Is he starting, do we know? Or we're assuming he's starting? But
I'm assuming he's starting right now. I have him in my lineup. There's a chance I might pivot over to Biyombo, but I like that game. I like the Detroit game.
What about Phoenix now? Again, you have the salary. Chris Paul is 48% owned on FanDuel. Again, because just you have the funds. It's not like this incredible play. It's a good play. And on DK, same deal, like a little bit to a lesser degree, but 36%. Booker, 32% on DK at 8.7K. And on FanDuel, we're looking at 33%. If you're going to play one of those two, who do you prefer, Paul or Booker?
Paul, it's not close.
Talk to me about playing. I think like one way to be different in this slate is to figure out that Jalen Smith Biyombo deal. We're projecting 25 for Smith and 23 for Biyombo. I presume that's, they're not going to share the court together and they're basically going to chop it up. Is that kind of where you're at as well too? And they're interesting for tournaments, I think.
No, I'm putting an extra G on Jalen Smith under.
What do you have on it already, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, you're doubling down on it. They allow you to put 2G in that?
I have to do it over multiple different sites.
It's so weird how they cut you off and like they limit you on certain things, but other things are like, yeah, sure, come on.
I can't figure it out. Like FanDuel's the only one that's consistent. Like it's very rare that like occasionally they'll have a straight bet where for some reason they let me. They're slowly, as I win more money, they're slowly drawing it down. It was at 696 is what I could win on everything.
What a weird number.
And then it's down to like 685. Like they're slowly bringing it down as I win more money.
Shout out New York, by the way. New York's got mobile sports gambling coming, I believe, on Saturday or something in a couple days. It's on layaway, so there you go. A new state. Well, I think they had sports gambling, but not remote, I think was the deal. I don't live in New York. Somebody tell me. Somebody confirm it.
Dean, look at the email. So anyways, on Phoenix side, Chris Paul's the one that I drastically prefer. Devin Booker is still a fine play. I have no problem playing him, but you do have to worry a little bit about the blowout. So anytime I'm playing Booker or Paul or both, I'm bringing it back with some Clippers players, specifically Marcus Morris, Mann, and Jackson. Outside of that, if you need to get some value, Payne and Johnson actually grade out as 2 of the better plays on a point per dollar basis on this slate. And Biyombo is a guy that you can pretty much fit in there at 4K with a lot of upside. I do like Biyombo. He's my 3rd favorite option on in this Phoenix team, just because 4K he still has a bunch of upside. Like he should end up playing 23 minutes. He could end up playing 30 minutes. The foul trouble is always there. They don't have bigs and they're going to need someone most likely, even though the other side of the game is without Zubac and was without a lot of big guys. Ibaka and Morris should be in there pretty much the entire time. And they will need some height to go against them.
Hey, Grant, did you know this Saturday, January 8th, it's an exciting time for New York residents. Sports betting, it's coming, and it's coming fast. Fret not, for Rotogrinders has all the information you need. Find the link. Wait, to more information. Yeah, I couldn't read that for a second. Find the link for more information in the description, or simply go to Rotogrinders homepage, navigate to the sports betting tab, and click New York. You can find a list of all sports books available, all relevant promotional offers, and more.
Make sure you use the promo codes. It's more free stuff. Use the RG promo codes. They'll be the best ones out there. RG or Scores and Odds, whatever's on the page. I don't know anymore. But use those promo codes because they will get you in the links. They will get you the best deal. Like we always
just don't use your free bet on Memphis to win the title. You're throwing away money.
And free bets always use them on plus odds. If you want to bet on something specifically that's not plus odds, parlay it with something else. Like parlay it with do 2 or 3 leg parlays for all of them, or bet futures. You want to do that. That's the best way to maximize odds. If you want with
that is
parlays,
excellent advice.
Yeah, if you want with parlays, you can hedge out after the first one, and it's still more positive money.
I was going to say, Dean, where did you finish again in the sports betting national championship that DK hosted?
I was a DNP. DNP coach's decision.
Late
DNPCD.
scratch. Yeah.
People
were really
if Florida doesn't have sports betting next year, you should come up to Colorado during it.
I just might. You might. You got a couch, Grant?
I'm an adult. I have 3 spare bedrooms.
What? 3? What a humble brag.
Humble brag, yeah. Needs one more and he'll be there.
Springs. I'm not like my house probably costs the same as over in Nashville condo.
3 bedrooms down, 1 to go.
I mean,
Evan, do you have questions for us?
I have questions for you, yes. A couple of silly ones to start off here. We'll shake ourselves loose a little bit. It's been a while since we've had some time for Q&A. Slambert wants to know, is this a Scrubs and Scrubs slate?
Yeah.
Are we paying down so we can pay down? Sean,
outside of Morant, yeah.
Sean wants to know, what's the definition of yada yada? I think he outed himself as a non-Seinfeld watcher.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, more or less. And some stuff happened. Some other stuff happened that's inconsequential.
Answers and more vagues. C. Shepard wants to know, DK tournaments, could Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum be both played in the same lineup together?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. If you are, then you're bringing it back with at least 2 New York players, hoping that goes to overtime. Our
resident DFS sports betting expert, Britt Devine, in chat singing the praise for New York getting sports betting.
There you go.
Slambert wants to know, why is Bismack not projecting better? He and Jalen Smith are the only 2 big men left, and he scored pretty well last time they had this exact same setup, right?
Well, we're projecting 24 and 24, basically. You can't really project Bismack to go 1.4 like he's done so far in 45 minutes. But like, he's good, but he's not that good. Like, it's not, you can't assume that. Is it possible? Sure, but that's not the rational thought.
Maybe if ownership leaned one way or the other heavily, take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think Bismack, if he gets 24 minutes, Bismack at 4K on DK, that is very interesting to me.
All right. Lip wants to know, do we like Hayes tonight for DK tournaments?
Not really.
Nah, not really.
Flores Mark, DK tournaments, can we play Lyles with Stewart back now?
You play Lyles if you're betting on a blowout, right? I think, not that he's somebody they want to develop going forward. I was thinking about this, like, he got kicked off the court because of a blowout last night, but now, Grant, maybe he mops up, maybe, or they just let what's his name, Luca, whatever, not Luca. What's the guy's name?
Luca Garza.
Yeah, Garza. Maybe he does the mop up stuff, but it's tricky. I don't feel good about it if the game is close. I think his minutes are going to fall behind.
That first one was Lyles, Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Trey Lyles, Luca Garza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nailed it.
I drop in.
K-Mag wants to know, favorite Warrior and favorite Pelican FanDuel tournaments.
Ooh, on FanDuel
Pool
specifically.
and Hart.
Yeah. It's not hard for me in FanDuel, I don't think, just because that price is a little exorbitant. But
you don't have a Hart on?
He was reserving his energy for that joke.
How I haven't fallen over dead is beyond.
How did that land, Devin? What would you score that?
That was like a belly flop, Dean. That was maybe
it was a big splash.
It was a big splash. We'll give him that. Hart and Pool are the answers officially.
Yeah, Hart and Pool.
Yeah, I mean, Pool is so chalky, but it's the best play.
Lip wants
Peyton,
to know,
I think, is interesting.
Grant, do you like 26.5 points over for Ja?
Yep.
All right. Easy, quick one.
Yeah, you can get it at 25 at some spots, but I think FanDuel has it at 26.5 with less juice on the over. I'm betting the over 30 points too, and over 35 points.
And we're over time, but we'll end on this one. Flores Mark wants to know, DK tournaments, thoughts on Brandon Clark?
He's fine. Yeah,
I think he's fine. I'm not thrilled to get him. I'm not seeking him out, but if he's the last man in and that's the guy that fits, my lineup's not getting blown up. We're going to enter that lineup. It's okay.
All right, Dean. Speaking of Seinfeld, end on a high note.
Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. the shrimp store called and they're running out of you.
These
I
crackers.
said no soup for you.
They're making me thirsty.
These pretzels.
Pretzels, not
Making me
crackers.
thirsty.
Such a good
All
one.
right.
All right, Dean, wrap us up.
Who's coming up next on the premium show?
Kevin Roth is on baby duty, so one Britt Devine's filling in with Andy Means and Christy Metzger.
You know what's funny is Britt watched this show to like probably get information. And you gotta parse through.
That poor sap. That poor sap.
It's a 4-game slate. It's not that hard to digest.
If you guys are premium members, hang out for that, or actually go to rotogrinders.com for it. You can't really go to YouTube because it's not available to the viewing public. Hit that like button on YouTube. We do appreciate y'all hanging out with us and asking questions in the Discord. Hit that like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, hit all the buttons, smash it, caress it, whatever you want to do with it. That was Grant. Thank you, Grant. I'm glad you're feeling relatively better, going forward. Thanks to Evan for producing. That was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Holler!
See you, kids.